got a pretty dreary day out here today. Snowed overnight, turned to ice. Now it's raining a little. Today a little more rain. Tomorrow we get a half foot of snow, most likely. And so what we're trying to do is work in our chicken yard to move compost through the system based on what the weather's telling us. And what I'm realizing is we're actually coming up to a pretty serious bottleneck yet again. It seems like tongue-in-cheek to say this, but it feels like we're really dealing with too much compost at this point in time in our chicken system. Let me explain. A little ways back, we talked about the idea that we were clearing out the compost that had been moving through our winter run, and we had laid out a big windrow in this area up against this high tunnel to keep it warm. And since then, Sasha and I have actually, this is not actually that pile, we cleared all that out. Every time I go up to the main nursery, so we're at our half-acre micro site. We've got limited space here to accommodate so much volume of material. Every time I drive up to the main nursery, the 6-acre nursery, I try to bring compost with me. And so we've taken 4, if not 5 truckloads of these crates. Each one of these crates hold between 10 and 15 gallons of compost, and there's 30 of them that we'll load on the truck. So we're bringing up 300 to almost 500, 300 to 400 gallons of compost about twice a week out of this system. But when we get deep snow, it's much harder. First of all, my truck's not great in the snow. And second of all, I would drag 6 of these tubs at a time on a sled through the snow and dump them out on snow up there. It's hard work, but it's amazing for our future fertility. But here we are, we're coming into a half foot of snow tomorrow. This is another pile that we just moved over here. I've got a pile. I just started digging this pile out of the high tunnel this morning, which is piping hot. By no means is this finished compost, but it's pretty amazing material. And if you look into this high tunnel, coming into the snow that we'll have tomorrow, so I've just been digging out the northern end, and now this is the material. So when it gets really snowy, our chickens like to be in here, and when it gets this tall, it's pretty hard for me to work in here. So our goal is to actually move all this material out today. It's a lot of work. It's incredibly hot. It's amazing, but it's actually a limiting factor to have this much compost from this system. So something to keep in mind, if you've got limited space and you're doing a system like this, you may find there are certain moments in the year where there's just too much compost for you to handle. I think I'd like to put out an offer that we've done in the past, that if you're local or regional to us, somewhere in the Finger Lakes area, ideally, let's say like 20 miles from where we are near Ithaca, New York, we'd like to offer some free compost, especially if you've got or specifically if you've got a nonprofit program or a food justice program, you're trying to raise more food for folks who need it, we'd love to share some of this compost with you and help kind of distribute the excess of this system right now. We're going to dig out as much of this material as we can so we can get ready to bring in yet more. This is the bottleneck of the pipeline, and once it comes out here, we'll cover this with poly, we'll let it rest, and we'll wait till the next thaw. It'll probably be around 10 full truckloads worth of material that'll come out of here at that point. So, seems silly to say that can there ever be such a thing as too much compost, but it's pretty interesting with a pipeline like this. We actually are hitting that wall more and more frequently, especially in the winter. So we've got our work cut out for us today to move the material out of this high tunnel and bring in the soaked grain, the young compost, and all that before we get a really heavy snow here. We just ordered and had 37 yards of sawdust delivered, which we've cached off to the side. It's a huge amount of carbon. It's going to contribute even more to the problem of too much compost, but we're finding the more carbon we can add, the hotter the compost runs and the cleaner it runs overall. And you can probably see just how much heat's coming out. So that's our issue at the moment. Pretty fun, but a real challenge to actually deal with. Thanks for watching. That's about 20 days worth of compost right there. Doesn't look like a lot, but it's probably about 2 truckloads to move. That's about 1/5 of the way done with what's in the high tunnel to make room for the next material tomorrow. A lot of work, but so much fertility, my gosh.